I yearn for every year when watching all of these prospects and preparing for the NFL draft to find those dudes that I could put my hat on and I say, you know what? I don't care what anybody else thinks. I don't care how anybody else ranks them, rates them, grades them. Doesn't matter to me. This is one of my dudes. This is one of my dudes I will bang the table for. This is one of my guys that I will sit there and say, damn it all, I think this dude's got it. He can be a really good NFL player. I think of wide receivers in last year's class, and to give you a comparison, a lot of people were really, really high on Zay Jones. I wasn't as much. If you go back and look at the grading, you will see that it reflects that. I was much higher on Cooper Kupp because I didn't care if he was some white guy from Eastern Washington that ran in the low 4.6s at the damn combine and people started to fall out of love with him. I saw a guy with great hands, underrated quickness, underrated speed, good size for his position, a good understanding for how to play the game, and just a natural feel for being able to get open and make plays. And I think you saw that as the season progressed in Los Angeles in 2017, the type of player that Cooper Kupp can potentially be in the NFL, where Zay Jones, I felt like, really struggled. Because, yes, he was a highly productive player, and he was this and he was that, but he was a guy, he's struggling to average 10 yards of reception in freaking college. Like, he reminded me a lot of Marty Booker, and I believe that was the comparison I had for him. I liked him, but Cooper Kupp was like my dude. And one of my dudes this year is Anthony Miller from Memphis. I will bang the table for this guy and pound the table for this guy. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll go down in eternal flames, and I'm sure you would love to see it. But this is one of my guys. This is one of those dudes that I'm confident I will have highly rated compared to most. And I will stand by that rating and wait for it to bear out and hope that it bears me the fruit of being able to say, ha ha ha, I was right about him. And then nobody will give me any acknowledgement or recognition to only focus on the bad crap because that is the nature of the world. What else can you do? But why am I so big on Anthony Miller? Well, he's got the quickness and speed to make big plays happen. He absolutely does. And I think you saw that plenty in Memphis in 2017. He's shifty as hell. He can get open in a variety of different ways, and he can stretch the top over the defense. He's got outstanding run after the catch ability with agility, quickness, and toughness. That's who he reminds me of, is when I think about him, he's like a much better version of Justin Hardy. And a lot of us like Justin Hardy. I like Justin Hardy, and I still think some of his best football could potentially be ahead of him, especially if he gets more opportunities in Atlanta. But I look at Anthony Miller. He's like a supersized, not really supersized, but a roided up in terms of talent version of a Justin Hardy. Outstanding run after the catch ability, agility, quickness, toughness. I absolutely love watching him get the ball in his hands and make things happen, make people miss, run over people, especially for a guy that's not all that big. He's a quality, refined, advanced route runner who, especially out of the slot, can easily create separation, like easily get open. He wasn't necessarily just playing in a system where it helped him to get open all the time, like let's say a James Washington. And it wasn't to me just because he played in the slot, because he could also do it outside. A lot of those same things translated for him on the outside as well. He was just a quality route runner. He had an advanced route tree, could get out of his breaks, get in and out of them very sharply, quickly, precisely, not a lot of wasted movement, not a lot of choppy footwork, and always seemed to be open to me. Just always seemed to be open. And that tends to be a thing that translates from college to the NFL, is the ability to get open. And Anthony Miller has plenty of ability to get open. And what I love about this dude when you watch him, and it stands out, is he plays angry. He plays with a little ferocity. He plays with a chip on his shoulder. Like, you can tell he's pissed about being a former walk-on that had to go to freaking Memphis and make it. And boy, did he make it and made a big name for himself. And I expect that type of chip is going to remain on his shoulder as he gets to the NFL level, because he's not going to get drafted as high as maybe he feels like he should, and people are going to discount him because of his size, discount him because of his age, discount him because he came from Memphis. He didn't come from a big-name program. And he's going to play like an angry sack of freaking Hornets balls. That makes absolutely no sense, and it doesn't matter. You don't like it, then eat it. But Anthony Miller, yes, sir. All types of reasons to absolutely love him. Now, I will acknowledge, he lacks NFL size for playing outside as a number 1 wide receiver. He is on the small side. A lot of teams are going to look at him and envision him primarily as a slot guy. And I feel like that's the easy route to take, and that's probably the best route to take. But I think we shouldn't be so quick to automatically dismiss him being able to play outside either, because, again, that route running, that quickness, that speed, that run after catch ability can translate anywhere. You just don't have to be a slot guy because you're small. Some of the best slot guys are big guys. Some of the best outside guys can be smaller. You look at Odell Beckham Jr. He's not a monstrous dude by any stretch of the imagination. Antonio Brown's not a big dude by any stretch of the imagination. And you could play them anywhere, and it don't matter. Skill is skill. It translates anywhere. While he makes a lot of spectacular catches, and I give him a ton of credit for that, occasionally he'll have the focus and concentration drop. I think it's something that he could clean up relatively easily. It didn't happen a ton, but I would like to see him tighten up that ship a little bit. And I also know that he's 23 years of age, former walk-on, so some teams are going to wonder what truly is his upside. Yes, he went from walk-on to being this highly productive college player, but how much more could he get out of himself? Is he close to already tapping out his potential? He's a little bit older. Do we feel like we're going to get the same return out of him as to taking somebody with more athletic upside with some more risk? That's 21, 22 years of age. Look, here's what I know. This dude can flat out play, period. And again, when you talk about he is still a relatively reliable catcher of the football, even with the occasional concentration and focus drop. He's got the ability to make the spectacular catches. I know he lacks length and height, and he lacks some of the catch radius, but he's got a better catch radius, frankly, than some of these bigger wide receivers in the same draft class. If I look at him, I see a guy that made plays all over the place. Made him in the slot, made him outside. Doesn't matter. Feels like a guy that could come in and potentially contribute right away in a good situation in the NFL. In terms of my comparison for him, if he is primarily a slot guy, a number 2, number 3 type of target, it's a Randall Cobb type of player. And Randall Cobb has been a pretty good professional. Let's face it, if you say, hey, I'm going to take a slot wide receiver in the second round, he ends up being Randall Cobb, you don't feel so bad about that. You know what I mean? Best case scenario, the true upside to him, who does he remind me of? Some Steve Smith. Because Miller is physical for his size. He's got quickness, speed. He can make some of those spectacular catches, and he plays angry, plays with that chip on his shoulder. I know we're talking about Steve Smith, who someday probably goes into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, and that's fine. And you're going to say again, oh, you're crazy, da-da-da. Well, you know what? Maybe I am. But again, for all those that thought they knew about Steve Smith, shit, him coming out of Utah, I didn't know that much about him either back in the day. What was it, 2000? Was it 2001, 2002, something like that? He was a third-round pick. So several NFL teams passed on him twice and then 3 times. So sometimes you don't know until they get there. But this is one of these dudes. I don't care. And again, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I will go down in flames sinking on this ship. Anthony Miller is one of my dudes in this draft. And I have the confidence to believe that he could be an impact player immediately in the National Football League. And if he is there in the second round and my Bears are on the clock, depending on how the draft board breaks down, I'm going to be begging and wishing and hoping and praying that they take this guy, because I fully feel that, especially with an Allen Robinson in the fold, and even though I know they've got a Taylor Gabriel, it doesn't matter to me. You get good players and you figure it out. Anthony Miller is a good player. He's a really good player, and that's why, as you can see, I've got a first-round grade on him. I think he's that good. I don't think he'll get drafted in round 1, but I think he will play better than other receivers taken ahead of him in this draft class.